The I do is an important part of the lesson where you're teaching content to the whole class or group. But what you really want to emphasize is not just what you say, but the questions you ask to uncover students' understanding about the topic. So think about if you've ever been in this situation.
In 1930, the Republican controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of the anyone, the Great Depression, passed the anyone, the tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which anyone raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression. Today, we have a similar debate over this. Anyone know what this is, class? Anyone? Anyone? Anyone seen this before? The Laffer curve. Anyone know what this says? It says that at this point...
So you can see in that example what you do not want in an I do. This is not a time where you can say, I covered the content, I got through it. It's not just a script that you don't involve the students. You could see from the looks on those students' faces, they are not engaged. That was an example where it's all close-oriented questions, almost like fill in the blank questions. And you do not want to have it where it's all verbal. There might just be, no visuals, except that teacher had some notes on the board. But you really want to sort of engage the students more with all different types of learning. And you do not want it to be 90% of the lesson where sort of the teacher is talking for, almost the whole class period and then the end hands out the homework. It is not, as this visual shows, just a time that you dump knowledge into a brain and you sort of cram it in. You want to really think about how you can use this teaching time where you're helping students to understand the content in a very engaged way. So you want to be clear about what are the key ideas or possible points of confusion and uncover those during your lesson. So you're not getting through it. You're really uncovering the ideas that you want to think about. Just move myself out of the way. So you want to think about more that it's a discussion, that you've planned your questions and you're thinking about the expected student responses, that this is a time that you're trying to see what might students be confused about and how can I address that in a proactive way. So you're looking for questions to probe misunderstanding and help students to make connections between what they've learned in the past, what they're learning now, their own experiences that they've had. The goal is that the I do, it makes it seem as that the teacher is doing it, but it is really the teacher is doing it with involvement of the students. So the students have to be part of it. The one issue with the I do is that you're only going to hear from the students that you call on. So if you have 25 students in the class, you might not get all their involvement unless you do something where they're showing their understanding. Maybe they're holding up some whiteboards and you're getting the whole class understanding in different ways. So it's an important part of the lesson, but you want to think about these key ideas that you want to build on. So in this example, you could see you have somebody, the weak one that you want to kind of develop, they pass out this completed chart. They're asking questions just about the labels. They're asking how many people like it. What you see here is just a list of the teacher's steps. You don't see what they're thinking, what they're expecting the students. You don't see how they're kind of involving. It's almost like just a checklist for students. Especially as you're starting out, you want to really plan in detail. So you can see on the stronger example, you have what did the labels tell us? So you can see with those star, what the teacher is expecting the students to respond. So you can see there's a range of different ideas. So what can we learn from the guy? How do you know all that? So these questions, how do you know, get the students to stretch their thinking. And that's very helpful for students that aren't answering the question. So it's not just about what the right answer is, but how do the students know it? That's where they can make some connections. So you can see here, then the teacher has some ideas that they're going to say, I must hear you explain your thinking. So how many people voted for soccer? Emphasize the need for the label. So it's not just 9, it's 9 people. How many people voted in all? So you can see the strategy, the students, what they're saying, but also looking at how are they adding it. So the teacher has a note here, investigate strategies. How many more people voted? And then again, a point of confusion is noted. They might say 5 plus 2 because it looks at more. So what do you want to emphasize? So this is what you're looking for in that I do section of the lesson plan, is really how are you going to teach the content through questioning and addressing those points of confusion.